it's interesting because Soros played Moneyball with these DA races all over the country because he realized that the district attorneys have enormous power because they can set policy about what crimes are going to be prosecuted, which are not. Some of these other directives that I mentioned earlier about cash bail and so forth, although George Soros is George Gascon is actively in violation of state law and just operates, nonetheless. But Soros understood that with a few $1,000,000, you could change a DA race.
Why would you want to? Why would Soros, who's a foreigner, I beg your pardon, from Hungary, not from here, why would you want to wreck someone else's country? I don't understand that.
Soros DAs have jurisdiction over like 75 million Americans. Like, it's crazy.
Well, what's the motive? Like, why would you want, you're George Soros, you grew up in war-torn Europe, then you go to England, you help destroy their economy, right? Which he did. And then you come to the United States, which is like the nicest country in the history of the world, and you decide you want to take your ill-gotten gains and use those funds to wreck someone else's country? Like, what's the motive here?
I talked to a lot of people about this, and initially, again, I didn't want to even go down the Soros, rabbit hole because
you're not allowed.
You're not allowed, but also like, it's cliche at this point.
It is cliche. I agree.
But the fact is that it's real. It's real. And it begs the question of why. Is it simply he is an anarchist? Is he a financial terrorist? I would say yes. But what is the motivation? I think, again, I do not believe a world-class arbitrager, trader, ever kind of leaves that mindset. It's always money that motivates. So I think it's again, this is entirely speculation, but I would be very interested to see what is the portfolio of the family office of George Soros. Is it real estate? Because certainly the crimes surge in cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles have depressed real estate in these downtown districts by 25% at least. And insurance premiums have gone way up. So is there a trade there? Maybe. I don't know. But as I said, there's people that I trust and who would be in a position to know that indicate that there is potentially other motivating factors, at least with respect to Soros. So that being said,
it's just crazy how little defense the United States has. Like, we don't have moral defenses. We build this amazing, greatest thing that's ever been built by any people in all of history. And then a few, evil figures like Soros roll in, and we're totally incapable of saying, hey, foreigner, go away. Right. You're not allowed to do that. Right. You can't do that to us. And by the way, we'll execute you if you try to do that. Well, a normal society would say, we built this, you can't wreck it. But we're totally incapable of doing that. A normal
society, would have, and given the kind of violent criminals that are endemic in California and that run prisons, right, and commit murders in prison, literally, against guards even, a normal prison, I think, would have capital punishment applied to these prisoners, in the prison yard, hangings, right? Something, whatever it takes to bring fear of the law and of the state to those who fear only the justice of the Mexican mafia. That is who they fear when they go to prison. It's not the state. It's a joke.
So then the Mexican mafia is the state then, in effect.
Well, in effect, yeah.
It's the final word. Well, how's this for crazy? Has there ever been a more volatile time in American politics? Not in our lifetimes. No one alive has ever seen anything like this. But long before things started to really fall apart, the Heritage Foundation saw it coming. Heritage has pulled together a coalition of over 100 right-leaning groups to develop a comprehensive plan for day one. That would include detailed policy proposals on the most pressing issues, the big ones: securing the border, controlling inflation, cracking down on election fraud, protecting the rights of the individual, and saving the nation from being crushed by woke anti-human ideology. The team at Heritage has also developed a plan to dismantle the deep state that keeps this nonsense going and reclaim this nation from the small group of technocrats that's broken everything. Heritage is also running a training and vetting program to identify effective conservatives to serve in the next presidential administration. People who will share your values, this country's values, and actually do the job. It can't just be the same pool of discredited people from Washington populating every administration. Heritage has a long head start, and they put in a lot of work already, but they need your support to finish the job and to support the incoming president. You can go to heritage.org/Tucker and contribute to this important work today. A lot depends on it. heritage.org/Tucker.
If it is actually, they are the final arbiters.
Yeah.
They're the final arbiters.
So they're above the state.
Yeah, they are.
So I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, just because that's an emotional subject. I think it's a really important.
It is an emotional subject. It's really upsetting.
Well, you used to live there.
Yeah, it's deeply upsetting to see your home vandalized, and just literally my home, but just my hometown.
Yep. But you're saying that Los Angeles is not where the decisions are made. Where are the decisions made in California?
The decisions, the locus of power in California centers around a very elite and small milieu in San Francisco, largely around an area called Pacific Heights.
Ah, that's where I'm from.
Oh, nice.
Originally. Oh, that's so funny. Pacific Heights is the center of evil, huh?
Pretty
neighborhood, though.
Well, San Francisco is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It used to be, like much of California. But in any event, the oligarchy that has been really in place for almost 100 years, starting with the Getty's involvement with the Newsom family and the Newsom's family involvement with Jerry Brown, goes back to the 1940s and 50s. And the scions of each of these dynasties all intermarried. They were into business together. Gavin Newsom's first big kind of entrance into the scene was forming a restaurant group called Plump Jack, which was seeded by the Getty family, and was also co-founded with Billy Getty, who is the son of Gordon Getty, who is the son of J. Paul Getty. And the Eddies have funded Gavin's entire political career, and they've made that possible. In the winery and restaurant group, the success of that became a launching board into San Francisco city politics. I think he was on the board of supervisors and then became mayor. But always there was this commonality and nexus between Pelosi's family, Pelosi's husband, the Gettys, the Browns, and the Newsoms. So they're the old money elite that have been running the state for, on or off since the 1940s. I mean, of course, there have been Republican governors here and there. And it used to be, as we've talked about, like a sort of moderate state. Sometimes you voted for Democrats, sometimes voted Republican. Usually you voted for Republican candidates, presidential candidates. The last one was George H.W. Bush. But the accumulation of power amongst this circle really took hold after these changes that we've talked about in Southern California, the deindustrialization of Southern California, the exodus of at least 6 million middle-class Californians in the last decade, and the aerospace and defense leaving Southern California. So LA then became a Democrat a stronghold when it was once a Republican stronghold, and power shifted to San Francisco. And the other reason power shifted to San Francisco is because of the presence of tech, big tech.
Yeah.
Big tech is the new money, and the new money interweaves with the old money through VC investments and private placements and other sorts of, it's kind of social circles and Bohemian Grove, like you name it. And so we then have a power structure of an industry that is made up of very few people, a lot of foreigners, by the way, of course, and these kind of dynastic, almost like ancient aristocrats in the manner of patron-client relationships that define this paradigm, and they have formed an enormous let's say power block with tech, and through that connection, California has been ruled by this oligarchy.
But it's just weird in the physical effects. I mean, my mom's family got to California in the 1850s from Maine to find their, fortune, and they did. And so I've sort of gone there my whole life, was born there. And it was, I thought a nice city, liberal in some ways, very traditional in other ways, but kind of the same, like the city that saw the least amount of change. And then during the tech boom, 99, 98, 99, all this money came in, not just the South Bay, renamed Silicon Valley, but into the city, particularly after 2000. And I thought, well, okay, San Francisco's really rich now.
Yeah.
It'll get better.
Right.
It was pretty nice, I thought, but it will get better. The richer the city got, the dirtier it got, the more dangerous it got, the more chaotic it became.
Yeah.
The money made it way poorer.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a paradox, and it's very interesting.
Well, it's bizarre. When Twitter moved its head, because there were, all tech was, again, south of the city. But then when the tech companies started moving into cities, like, oh, it's this beautiful city, it's our Cape Town. And then it became like such a rich city, richest city in the United States. It instantly became dirty. Like, what is that?
This is happening in Southern California too. So in Venice, California, Google has established a big office, and Venice is marred by just tragic levels of homelessness that are shocking, and sites that I had only seen when traveling like to, the poorest parts of Guatemala. Maybe worse in some ways. But right around the corner from the Google office in Venice is a, let's call it a shanty town, a favela even maybe, but tent after tent after tent. And right next to Google, it's a fascinating dichotomy. And I was told by someone who would know in the private security sector and a former cop, that he has observed, because he has done work for Google, that gang members, local gangs, extract tribute from each homeless tent every single day, $20 to $50 a day. And this is happening, he claims, across the city. There's 75,000 homeless in Los Angeles. And if they cannot meet the tribute, they are forced to sell drugs or other crimes. And by the way, thanks to, I believe this was a Newsom policy, cops have to get search warrants to enter any tents. So the tents have become dens, rather, of murder, of rape, of drug, the worst kind of drug trade, and other forms of depravity that shock the senses.
And it's right next to Google. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.